It's an outboard. It has an electric starter. They're two separate systems. The two separate fuel, same battery though that powers the starter. And they all connect to the same alternator. There's a fuel filter attached to each one. Here, which should look familiar.
Check that in before you go sailing?
You should make sure that it's not clogged.
Not clogged, okay.
No, with crap.
That's your normal Raycor, right?
Yeah.
We're gonna lower the engine into the water. You see how he's sitting and he's lowering it down? It doesn't. Then it'll catch, and so now it won't come up.
So there's a locking mechanism from this line all the way down to that little silver bar, and it's important that the engine is locked down. And so the test to make sure it's locked down, you can do it one of two ways. You come over here and then lift it up, or you can check it here.
If it's not locked down, when you go in reverse, it can pop the engine up.
Which happened. So we were out motoring backwards, and the engine popped up, and this line got wrapped around the propeller, and we lost our this engine. So it's really important that you actually have your students check, make sure it's locked down. To raise the engine, you release this, and if you're sitting, it saves your back from pulling up. If you're big and strong, you can just kind of pull the other way. But I just tend to do like this. If you have an extra person helping, they can kind of pull, and you can pull here as well. Now you see the little silver piece? Now if you pull that back tab, that button, you can see that lift. See it lift?
Okay.
That's the piece this connects to. When the engine's up, you pull that all you want, nothing's going to happen. So it only happens when you want to unlock the engine. And then
Make sure that it's locked.
And then you can pump it with a little bit of fuel.
And you definitely want the lid open so you can see there's no obstruction or things for it to get caught. Let's just look at the throttle and how it works. Similar to the dinghy, it's when you put it into forward, it also engages the transmission, and then as you push it forward, you're gonna throttle up, back to neutral in the center. And then when you engage reverse, and then you throttle. If you want to be able to rev the engine without that, yeah, we'll leave that open until the engine's completely running. You pull this out, and then you can change your throttle.
So you pull it out,
So that'll
then you can throttle forward, and that's it.
Throttle without
without transmission. Ignition switches here, starboard and port, engine hours independently, and our fuel gauges. So once this is on and you're looking at the fuel gauge, hours are going.
Yeah. So if you forget to turn the engines off,
You're paying for
you're
it.
paying for the 5 hours you're going out for a day sail. $4 per engine. Full throttle is above 5,000 RPM. It's like 5 to 6. I found that cruising is about 35 to 4,000 RPM on their taxer. And at 4,000, you're doing about 5.3 knots. And if you just run one engine at 4,000 RPM, you'll do about 4 knots. So you're not losing a lot of speed. If you want to save your engines and pay less, you got a motoring and you're not in a hurry, you can just run one engine to Catalina, and you'll lose like 1 knot. When you're starting, it's a good idea to stand like in the middle or in front so you can watch the tachometers, and that's how you can tell if the engine's running or not. When you're starting, you got to reach over here to turn the key, and if you want to adjust the throttle, you got to lean over here, which means that if you have the cover up, you can't reach it because the cover is going to be in your way. So you got to take the cover off before you start the engine. If you push the key, like on collective effort, and turn the key, then the choke will be on. Now we've already started this once, so if I turn the key, it should automatically start. The other way that you can tell if the engine's starting, and it's a good place to stand, is here. is you can look at the tack. So as you're turning the key, you can watch the tack because you can't see or hear the other engine all the time. And that's how when you're motoring, you can tell if the engines are running or not. You just glance down to see if your engines are running or not. Because sometimes when you're docking, the port engine's been finicky and it has stalled. And you're like, why am I not turning? Well, just check your tack and you can see the engine's running or not. So I'm gonna first turn this guy off on the idle. And so this guy's a little bit more finicky, so you can just watch the tack. And it started. So you can't hear it, but you can see over here that it started.
Okay.
Okay, we didn't need any throttle or anything.
They should also verify the cooling water on that side because it's not as easy to see.
Yeah, it hits the wall over there.
Yeah. If you need a little faster idle to help start it, you can pull it. See the way I did that? I pulled the little details out. And you can throttle it up.
From the bottom, not
Right. Pull from here.
If you don't pull the lever out, you're engaged. The gears are engaged.
You're in gear.
This auto helm has a clutch lever and make sure it's free. I want to sit over and over. Every time I'm on the boat, I'm going to really reinforce that. You
Yeah.
see the clutch lever?
Yeah,
Just like the boats.
Yeah.
It's not an
here.
automatic clutch.
Oh yeah,
It's
okay.
not
There's
chain
the
driven,
clutch
so
lever.
always make sure that's not engaged. You don't screw that up.
You engage it for the auto helm though, right?
Right, just like some of them had on other
Right.
boats. But you had a lot of torque on that auto helm because you have two wheels. So always check that lever. So just check it. You got to really check things on this boat.
How did you turn it off? Just
Turn the key.
Okay.
Just, yeah, there's no kill switch.
I also think it's a good idea just periodically if you're running the engines to check the squirter because there's no alarm, and that sometimes can,
Yeah,
be-
there
make
is
you
actually
nervous.
there is actually an
Is there a
alarm.
high temp alarm?
There is an according to the manual there is, but
On the
But
motor.
anyway, you could catch something even ahead of the alarm. But I've had outboard motors. I had kelp on one impeller. I got a nervous chicken thing of every hour. I look at the squirter,
Yeah.